guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this mini lesson, Mika's going to be teaching you a beginner-friendly fingerpicking etude that introduces you to Travis picking technique. So that brings up our first question. Well, what is Travis picking technique? Well, let's find out. So let's talk about that technique. So Travis picking, it's named after Merle Travis. He's a country artist, and in a nutshell, what Travis picking is it's a repetitive right hand picking pattern where the underlying chords continually change. So you're doing this right hand picking pattern that remains constant, but the chord work changes. So I'll give you an example that's really easy to see. So if I take a G chord, just the stock one you learn on day one, and I go down to the second fret, make it a G major 7, and all opens, G6, and walk my way back up. I'm going to use a repetitive right hand picking pattern that sounds like this, and I'm going to apply it to that chord progression. So take a listen. Sounds pretty cool, right? So I love Travis picking because it just really, it gives the harmony this color and this sound that just sounds so cool. And there's many famous examples of songs that use Travis picking. Dust in the Wind is probably the most iconic that I can think of off the bat. Landslide by Fleetwood Mac is another good example. But it's just a really, really cool sounding technique. And what's great about it is that it cuts down the work of the right hand. Because if you think about it, you only have to learn the picking pattern once, and then you apply it to every single chord that you go to. So now that we have a good understanding of what this picking technique is, I wanted to let you all know that this is actually the third etude that I have written that uses Travis picking. So if you want to check out the other two, I'm going to link them in the description box below. One is for baritone ukulele, and the other is for high G or low G ukulele. And both of them are a bit more advanced in difficulty than this piece is. So if you're a more advanced player and you want to do something a bit more challenging, definitely check them out. Now, let's talk about this lesson though, because this one actually has something different with it than the other two that I have written. And that is that this Travis picking etude uses a swing rhythmic fill. So if you are new to understanding the difference between playing with a straight eighth note fill versus a swung eighth note fill, you want to jump into this lesson first before continuing with this one. I'll also link that in the description box below as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a step back. Let's talk about this lesson. So in this video, Mika's going to be teaching you how to play the entire etude. But if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that's going to be available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for ML23. That is the lesson number for this lesson. Now also on that page will be the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tabs scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this tune that much easier. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Mika to teach you how to play this. Now, his performance and his lesson uses a low G ukulele, but you can perform this piece with a high G ukulele as well. So grab whichever tuning ukulele you want. They both work, and let's jump into it.
Aloha everyone, my name is Mika and welcome to another lesson here at Rock Class 101 where I'm going to go over the famous Travis style fingerstyle picking pattern. And boy, is this one a fun one. This is one of those picking patterns that when I go ahead and play it, it never fails to make me kind of move and kind of bounce around because it's just such a happy, bouncy kind of fingerstyle pattern. And it's one of those patterns where if you play it over pretty much any chord, and it sounds really, really good on the low G ukulele, play it over any chord, it just sounds very cool, especially when the chords get more dense and more colorful. But for this lesson, we're going to go ahead and talk about just 4 basic chords and how we can go ahead and really get that fingerstyle hand nice and juiced up and be able to do this really fun fingerstyle picking pattern. So join me for today's lesson and let's go ahead and dive right into it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this lesson. Now, before we go ahead and start with measure one of the piece, let's go ahead and talk about the Travis picking pattern, right? So the great thing about this pattern is that not only does it sound really cool and it has this really fun, bouncy kind of feel to it, in terms of this piece, the pattern is going to be what you're playing probably about 85 to 90% of the piece. So if we cover the pattern right now, then we can go ahead and just go measure one. This is what it sounds like. Measure two is what it sounds like, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the pattern first. So let's go ahead and just hold like a basic C chord like this. So we hold our 3rd fret ring finger on that bottom A string right there, right? So it's over 4 beats, right? But that beat 1 is going to be a quarter note. So you're going to go ahead and we're going to pluck the G and the A string like this, right? So for me personally, when I do my finger style, I like to do my middle finger on the A string, my index on the E string, and I like to alternate my thumb on the C and the G string. Whenever I need to pluck that G string or the C string, my thumb will come into play. Whenever I need to pluck the E string, my index will do it, and then whenever I need to pluck on the A string, my middle finger will go ahead and do that, right? So that beat 1, we're gonna go ahead and pluck the G and the A string just like this. All right, and then now on the beat 2, you're gonna go ahead and pluck the C string, and then on the 2 and, you're gonna go ahead and pluck the E string. So it's gonna sound like that. Now on beat 3, you're gonna go ahead and go back to the G string like this, and then you're gonna go ahead and pluck the A string with your middle finger. So far it's gonna sound like this. All right, and then to finish off the remainder of the pattern, we're gonna go back to that C string on beat 4, and then we're gonna pluck that E string on the and of 4. So 4 and. All right, so when you put it together very slowly, it's gonna sound like this. And. All right, let's go even slower than that, all right? And let me go ahead and count out the beat divisions, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a little faster. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we just went ahead and learned how to do the Travis picking pattern in the straight feel, but what I want to go ahead and show you folks is how to add the swing feel, or pretty much to go ahead and demo what adding a swing feel to this Travis picking pattern will sound like. And not only are we going to add it to this part of the lesson, this part A, but we're also going to add it to the rest of the song as well to add this nice little groove, the swing groove into our playing. So this is what it's going to go ahead and sound like over this C major chord, our first chord of the song. So I'll go ahead and just play it over and over, get a good sense of the feel and what it sounds like, and see if you can try to copy it as best as you can. All right, here we go. And just over and over again. So I'm not sure, you guys can't see my face or my head, but essentially my body, I can feel it on the inside. My head is rocking side to side. My body I can feel it. And that's because I'm playing really lightly right now. I'm really soft and very relaxed. But if I were to try to play it faster or put a little more force into my play, not trying to be tight, but just to try to project myself and play a little louder, I can really feel that swing in my body and that kind of groove. And we're going to go ahead and apply that to the remainder of the song. So you're going to have that groove throughout the entirety of the song. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to try practice this swing feel. And we're going to go ahead and learn the remaining chords of this song, which is the C, G, A minor, and F chord. Okay, so the first chord is the C, which is the one that I just went ahead and played over. So 0003, C major chord. The second chord is your G major chord, which is your 0232, just like that. The A minor chord, you're going to put your middle finger on the top string, so 2000. And then the F major chord, you're going to go ahead and put your index finger on the E string, like that, first fret. So it's going to be 2010, just like that. And this is what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to take the Travis picking pattern, which is the right? That's one pattern. We're going to go ahead and double it. We're going to take 2 of those and we're going to play it over each of these chords in that order. So you're going to play 2 patterns of C, 2 patterns of the G, 2 patterns of the A minor, 2 patterns of the F chord, and then we're going to loop back to the C chord, and we're just going to go in circles, like this infinite circle. And this is a great way to, warm up, to get your fingerstyle hand nice and warmed up. Good to go ahead and get your left hand warmed up and just trying to play around in circles with these chords. Just a really great exercise to go ahead and do. But we can go ahead and use this to practice to try get that swing feel by also playing over the chords that's going to exist in this song. So let me go ahead. I'll count it through. I'll say when to switch, when the second pattern comes in, and then I'll go ahead and kind of cut off from talking. That way you can go ahead and just hear the patterns or the exercise being played in its entirety. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and so 2, and switch, and 2, and switch, and 2, and switch, 2. All right, here we go. Just like that. So again, I'm taking it really slowly. I'm just really focusing on my fingerstyle hand to be very nice and relaxed and not being tight and trying to like claw at the strings, just being really light and fluid and making sure that I'm working on trying to make sure my transitions are nice and clean and as seamless as possible, not trying to speed up the pattern, not trying to slow down the pattern, but being very consistent and just trying to get good tone out of my instrument. Of course, when you folks feel like you're comfortable doing those kind of things, you can go ahead and try to speed it up. Try to play it really fast. And like I was mentioning earlier, the faster you play it and like the louder you play it, obviously there's like a diminishing return with how loud or how fast you want to play it where we can't handle it or it's just not going to sound good. But the more you put into it, the more you're going to find your body just kind of swaying and getting into that nice groove by adding the swing feel to it. If I have to be honest with you guys, what you just did right there is literally the first 8 measures of this tab. If you guys looked ahead, then hopefully you kind of saw what I was trying to get at. But essentially, that's what this A part or the intro part of the song is like. If you look at measure 1 and 2, measure 1 and then measure 2. Oh, okay, that's just playing the Travis picking pattern 2 times in the C chord. Oh, okay, measure 2. Now measure 3, G chord. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then measure 4. Okay, so it's 2 times again. So we go to measure 5, it's the A minor chord. Okay, let's see. And then 6. Everything checks out so far. All right, and then measure 7 is the F chord. Okay. Oh, see, and this is where it changes. So this is where that other 10 to 15% of the time where it changes. So again, what you just did, if you just were to do that exercise over and over again, 2 times each chord, and you just go in a circle, that's pretty much the first 7 out of the 8 measures of this piece that we're working on right now. If we look at measure 8, you see that the pattern changes, and now we're playing quarter notes. So we're not even playing the Travis picking pattern anymore. We're just going to be playing quarter notes, and we're going to play as written. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pluck that F chord. So we're plucking that G and the E string like that, and then we're going to go ahead and put our ring finger down on the 3rd fret E string. And then let's keep holding the F chord, have that middle finger hit that open A string, and then put that ring finger down to hit 2, just like that. All right, so it's going to sound like this. So again, that's an important thing about leaving that F chord down is that if you leave it down, that F chord continues to ring while you're plucking the melody. Versus if you were to just let go of that F chord to then pluck 3 and then 0 and 2, it's going to sound like this. You see how it sounds very choppy, the sound just kind of disappears. Versus if you leave it down, we continue to have that G string ring on for the entirety of the measure. So let's go ahead and play the exercise that I just taught you, or measures 1 through 8 with the measure 8 that we went ahead and just covered. All right, so 2 times per chord. Let's play it nice and slow. Now we're going to add that measure 8 in. All All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, A minor, F, and then just like so, right? If we try to do it a little faster, this is what it's going to sound like. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and. All right, if we try to do it even a little faster, 1, 2, 3, and. That's what measure 1 and 8 is going to sound like. So I don't know about you folks, but for me, when I'm playing this and the faster I go, I find my body moving, my head's, rocking back and forth, side to side. It just has that bounce. That's the magic of Travis picking. It's a really fun pattern to play. The more chords you learn and, different variations of the chord, it can sound really cool. But this piece is just a really awesome way to get your feet wet and to experience the wonderfulness of Travis picking. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the B section of this piece. Now, the great thing about this B section is that the melody in this section follows the same form as the A section. Essentially, where you're going to be playing one chord over two measures. So the C chords played over measure 9 and 10, the G chords played over measure 11 and 12, and so on for the A minor and the F chord. So the first measure of each chord, because we're playing two measures per chord, is going to be the same exact Travis picking pattern that we've been playing in the A section. But what makes the B section different from, say, the A section is that when you look at the second half of the measure, you'll notice that we're adding a melody onto the A string. We're adding a melody in which you're going to have to go ahead and pluck those notes. And that's where it's going to differentiate. It's going to be different from the Travis picking pattern that we're plucking on the front half of the measure. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the differences that we'll find in this B section on the latter half of each measure. Let's go ahead and break down measures 9 and 10. So like I was saying, measure 9, you're going to go ahead and do the Travis picking. However, we're going to hold the C chord with our index finger. Now, why would we do that? I thought we have to hold our ring finger with the C chord. In a vacuum, yes, this is probably how you want to default to holding the C chord, but sometimes you want to set yourself up more efficiently based on what's coming next, right? So if we look at measure 10, we see that we have to pluck 3, 5, 7, 8, all on the A string. Now for me, I'm not a big fan of leading or having one finger do all the work and sliding, 3, 5, 7, 8. I rather use all four of my fingers. You could use your thumb if you want, but I like to keep my thumb on the neck. But for me, less fingers makes easier work, more hands make lighter work. So for me, I rather utilize all my fingers to then walk up the 3, 5, 7, 8 rather than have your ring finger just slide up or have your pinky. I don't like using my pinky. I don't think a lot of people like using their pinky or trying to rely on their pinky. So by starting on that index finger on the 3rd fret with the C chord, we can do that Travis picking. And then once we hit measure 10, we can go ahead and just plant each finger down. So we can go, measure 10 would be plucking the G in the A string, quarter note, and then go ahead and pluck the middle finger on the 5th fret, ring finger on the 7th fret, and 8th fret on the pinky. So it's going to be just like that. Now, another great thing about landing on your pinky at the end is that now you free up those 3 fingers to then go ahead and you can work on your transition back into that G chord. If you land on the ring finger, then that's more of a distance that you have to jump because your ring finger is trying to occupy that 7th fret, but then right to the transition on measure 11, you have to get into the G chord. So by landing on your pinky, you free up these 3 fingers to then go and get to that G chord just a little quicker. And with transitions, every little millisecond counts in the grand scheme of things. So measure 9 and 10, it's going to sound something like this. Start with the index. 1, 2, 3, and. Just like that. And then we're going to go to the G chord. And like I said, same Travis picking. Okay, so let's take a look at measure 12. We have 2, 3, 5, 7. So for me, fingering wise, I like to pluck that G in the A string. Then you can pivot your ring finger to hit the 3. Then we can put our pinky on 5. and then we can slide that pinky to the 7th fret. And again, by landing on the pinky, that frees up my other fingers to then go to the A minor that's coming next on measure 13. All right, so measure 11 and 12, or the G chord, or when you're playing over the G chord, it's going to sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, and... And then now we can go to the A minor chord. So again, we can start off with the Travis picking. Now measure 14, we have to keep holding that middle finger on that 2nd fret. We have to drop our ring finger on the 3rd, or we can use our pinky, whatever is easier for you folks. I'm gonna use my ring finger. We're gonna go ahead and pluck that, and then 2, we can slide our ring finger in, and then let go, and then drop our ring finger on the 3rd fret E string. So it's gonna sound like this. If we play measure 13 and 14 together, it's gonna sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds real nice. Now measure 15, this is where we're going to break away from that Travis picking. We're going to go ahead and not pluck the G and the A string. We're going to pluck the F chord, essentially the note that's holding the F chord, which is the G and the E string, just like this. So if we go ahead and pluck that, everything else checks out. In terms of once you pluck those first 2 strings, then the remainder of the Travis picking pattern will follow suit. All right, so that's what measure 15 is going to sound like. And then on measure 16, we have to pluck the same 2 strings again, that G and the E string, but now we want to put our ring finger down on that 3rd fret. So we're going to get this sound, and then we're going to drop our index to hit 1, let go to hit 0, and then drop that middle finger to the 2 to hit that. So 16 will sound like this. Measure 15 and 16 will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, and... Just like so. Let's go ahead and play the whole entire B melody section together. Start off on the index finger, measure 9 through 16. 1, 2, 3, and... Now, if you notice at the end of measure 16, we have that double bracket with the 2 dots. That means that's a repeat. So we're going to go ahead and repeat the B melody. We're going to play that 2 times again. If you look at measure 8, we notice that there is no that dark double bold bracket with the 2 dots. So that means you're only playing the intro or the A 1 time around, 1 to 8. Then you're going to go immediately into the B melody. You're going to play 9 to 16. We have the repeat. So we're going to go back to 9 to 16 to play again. After that second time, then we're going to go to what we call the C section or the outro section. Now, I want to point out that it's like, okay, we got one more section of the song, right? Actually, measure 17 to 24 or the C part is pretty much note for note the same as the A part. The only difference is that measure 24 is different than measure 8. So 17, 18 is... Okay, and then measure 19 and 20... Okay, and then measure 21 and 22. And then that means 23 and 24 is... Oh, doesn't that sound familiar? It sounds like that little exercise I had all of you folks do when I went over the pattern plus the chords. So that C outro is the same thing as that kind of warm-up pattern that you could do to practice the Travis style picking. Of course, when you folks learn this whole song would be a wonderful little warm-up to, be able to practice just warming your fingers up, practicing playing for speed, practicing your transitions and techniques, trying to walk up, playing the melody, and then still trying to balance the Travis picking. So to go ahead and to end this song, we'll just go ahead and repeat the section C of the piece. And then we can either do one of 2 things. We can go ahead and just naturally fade out, I think back of those records, like when I listened to like Earth, Wind, and Fire in the late 70s and 80s, where the song just kind of fades out and you never really get to hear the true ending of the piece. But if we apply that kind of same concept to this, you can pretty much play section C and repeat it as many times as you want. And then, when you figure out like, okay, this is going to be the last time I play the entire section, maybe you want to start to fade out by the A minor chord, and the F chord gets softer and softer, and then you can go ahead and like end on like a C major chord. So for example, I'll show you what that would sound like. So let's say I played the outro 2 times and this is the 3rd time, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to try to fade this out. So I'll go ahead and play the whole thing, and I'm going to start fading slowly and playing softer and softer by the A minor chord to the F chord, and then maybe do a really soft C, real delicate C chord. So this is what it's going to sound like. Here we go. So something like that. You can go in pretty much any directions, but with that kind of like a bass line, that's one way you can go ahead and end this piece. So it's just a really nice, delicate touch at the end. Now, the second thing that you could do is that you could do something along the same lines where, okay, I'm going to play this 2 times around, and then maybe the 3rd time you're like, okay, I want to wrap it up. I'm getting winded from playing this, right? So what you want to do is that by the time you get, say, to around the A minor chord again, you can start to slow down the piece. So rather than trying to play it, if you're playing to a metronome and you're playing the same tempo all the way into that final C chord and you strum the C chord, you can go ahead and start to slow down around the A minor chord, and slower and slower. And when you get to the F chord, playing slower and slower. And then when you land on that C major chord, then you just have that nice little strum at the end. So one way you can visualize this is that, think about like you're driving on a highway, right? Or you're driving on a road and you're going, 45 miles per hour. And then all of a sudden, in the distance, you see a red light. So essentially, you're not going to drive 45 miles per hour and then just stop at 0 once you hit the red light, right? Think about going 45 miles per hour is like your metronome. You're just constantly going at that tempo or that speed of 45 miles per hour. But when you see that red light in the distance, you start to slow down the closer you get to the red light. And your goal is to come to a nice, gentle and complete stop. So if you think about, if you're playing the C and the G chord, you're, driving, no problem. But then when you hit this A minor chord in the distance, like, oh, there's a red light. So I have to start pressing on the brakes, start slowing down my speed. And that's the same thing as slowing down the tempo or slowing down the speed of which you're playing the pattern. And then when you hit that F chord, you're like, oh man, I'm getting really close to the red light. And then you hit that second, the measure 24. And then right when you're about to hit the C chord, that's when you finally come to a nice complete stop at the red light. So a lot of talking, but let me go ahead and show you what this would look like in my playing. So here we go. It's the red light approach. All right, here we go. Okay, I see the red light. Something along those lines. So it's up to you how you want to feel that slowdown. We all drive differently. We all kind of react to red lights differently. So, there's a lot of play in where you can go ahead and try to mess around and try to see how you want to end this piece as smooth as possible or abrupt, whatever you choose to do. But, I call that the red light approach in terms of how to, end a song with that kind of phrasing. All right, so with that, went ahead and we finished the piece. So I hope you folks enjoyed this lesson with Rock Class 101. It's an awesome way to go ahead and tie in Travis picking into your fingerstyle playing, or just something to go ahead and noodle around with, especially with this swing feel getting us in that nice little groove. So I look forward to seeing you folks in the next lesson here at Rock Class 101. Keep jamming, keep practicing hard, and until then, stay safe and aloha.
Alright guys, so this mini lesson was a lot of fun. This is a great fingerstyle piece that introduces you to Travis picking technique. So I wanted to give you a friendly reminder that in the description box below, I have linked 2 additional finger picking etudes. Both of them used Travis picking, and they are a more advanced level than this one, so they're probably suitable for the intermediate player. So if you enjoy Travis picking, you want to learn more tunes that use this technique, definitely check them out. But before we wrap up, I want to give you a friendly reminder that for this piece that we have just learned, if you did want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, that was available at this link right here. Or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, do a search for ML23, that is the lesson number for this lesson. And don't forget to, on that page is the interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time, highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this tune, and we'll catch you in the next lesson. Take care.